Did you know that strippers earn more tips when they're ovulating? And do you know how Josephine exacted her revenge on a cheating Napoleon? Welcome to this episode of Fascinating Fragrant Facts, episode 1, and these episodes are going to be short and sweet. Let's dive into the first fact. Related to the mint family, patchouli, oh my goodness, this is one of my favourite oils in the world, and I put this into a face oil as well because it has deodorizing properties. Allegedly it has toning effects, but also it helps to refine large pores, which I have an oily T-zone. So I find patchouli an incredibly useful oil in the face oil that I make for myself. And if you buy my book or go on my YouTube channel, you will be able to see the recipe for this face oil and how I make it. But let's move on to a fascinating fact about patchouli. Patchouli was discovered by accident for use in perfumes. Now, Napoleon would import cashmere shawls from, of course, Kashmir, and the traders on their travels, because they wouldn't travel by plane in those days, they had to protect the fabric from insects and moths, etc. So what they did is they placed fresh patchouli leaves between the fabric because of the strong scent of the patchouli leaves. But on their journey to France, these leaves would obviously dry over time. And when they were dried, they emitted this intoxicating scent. And consumers eventually would purchase the shawls purely for the fragrance themselves. And then there came a time when Napoleon stopped importing shawls because he wanted to concentrate on garments, etc., being made locally in France. But yeah, fascinating fact that people would buy cashmere shawls for the fragrance, and that's how it was discovered for use in fragrance. Another thing about Napoleon. In 1810, when Napoleon annulled his marriage to Josephine, because yes, he was a cheater apparently, Josephine decided to take up revenge because Napoleon took up with his lover. And how did she do this? Well, one of the fragrances that Napoleon hated the most was musk. So she soaked his garments and doused the walls of his apartment in musk oil. This fragrance is something that he could never escape from. And it's funny then, because he would then, in this apartment, whether he continued to live there or not after this, it's a scent that you can't get rid of when you do douse it into the walls of an apartment. He would be forever reminded of his cheating days. So yeah, that's a lesson learned, isn't it, for Napoleon? That's why when they're building mosques, they use musk in the cement a lot of the time, and in the bricks when they're building them, so that there's always this amazing fragrance that would last for decades or longer. Another one about Napoleon. It's alleged, actually, I think I've got a book about the writings of Napoleon to Josephine. They sent each other love letters all the time because he used to travel. And he wrote a sexy letter to Josephine during one of his many voyages, and that read, Je reviens, ne te lave pas, which means returning home, don't wash. Because he loved the scent of her own skin. And have you ever spent time not washing, per se, not wearing deodorant? Because I do think that we live in an over-fragranced world where we become unfamiliar almost with our own smell. Now, I'm not talking about stinky body odour. I'm talking about the natural pheromones and aroma that emits from your sweat glands, etc. I would suggest that you spend a week not wearing fragrance, not wearing fragranced oils, and not wearing deodorant to cover up the smell. Perhaps do this when you don't have anywhere to go. Perhaps if you're on a retreat or something, you don't have to be around other people. even after a day or two of not washing your armpits. It's amazing this smell becomes not so rancid, because we're living in a world that is really, everything is cosmetics, personal care, everything, candles, soap, shampoos, etc. have all got fragrance in them, and we lose sight of the pure sexiness of our own scent. So try it. I did. I was very surprised. I actually like the smell of my own armpits and my nether regions when not washing them with fragrance soap. Anyway, let's move on. Did you know that male butterflies attract their mates by secreting perfume onto their wings during courtship and hovering over the female while sprinkling her with a delicately scented dust? How beautiful is this? Is that the male butterfly is the one that smells, and it's a courtship. So if you ever see these butterflies hovering, we've all seen them in the garden, out on a walk in a forest or a wood, and the butterflies, and we can see this little dance that they do. Well, this is the male butterfly hovering over the female. Imagine he's sprinkling this like scented fairy dust. How beautiful is that? Have a look if you can see it with the naked eye next time you're out and see male butterflies and female butterflies courting. Here's a really short one. The male silkworm can smell the female silkworm from a distance of more than 6 miles. Yes. But imagine how long it would take that silkworm to travel 6 miles. And imagine if she keeps heading east and he keeps heading east. Is he ever going to catch up with her? I don't know. Let's ask David Attenborough. Another thing about animals is a lot of novelists have written about the smell of fear. And of course, there's lots of research been done working with rats. And this research has shown that stressed rats actually give off a special odour. And the other undistressed rats detect that stress odour, and they have a physical analgesic response so that they will be prepared for the pain. I mean, imagine they know that this rat is getting stressed for some reason or another, and the other rats are preparing themselves for whatever that rat is going through. It's incredible. When we talk about fragrance, though, a lot of people think that every brand has their own in-house perfumer. And this is definitely not true. I will explain all right now. When people have fragrances, so let's say great big brands like L'Oreal come out with obviously all these cosmetics, personal care items, or even smaller brands, perhaps, Tom Ford, I'm saying smaller brands, he's a big brand. But when we look at fragrances that are out there on the market, there's very few brands that create their own fragrances. In fact, only a handful of brands have their own in-house perfumer. And these perfumers will be dedicated to that brand. So they are required by their contract to work in-house. So let's say Guerlain, Chanel, Hermès, Louis Vuitton, Dior, and Cartier. These perfumers, during their tenure of working for these large companies, will not create fragrances for anybody else, for any other brand, only for these companies. But most other infamous brands commission a perfume house to create their scents, and their perfumers will also work on many other brands. So somebody might be working on a fragrance for, let's say, I don't know, Boots bring out their own fragrance, or Superdrug, or Bloomingdale's, or Macy's, or, think of all of these different brands when you go to, the duty-free or the perfume stores. And they will have a perfumer that's worked on their fragrances, but this perfumer can also work on a fragrance for me as well. So they're not dedicated to any singular brand. They work on lots of other brands and lots of other commissions, as it were. And they don't just create fragrances like perfumes per se. They create fragrances for things like car air fresheners, household products, deodorants, cosmetics, personal care, and candles, toothpaste even. Your washing up liquid, your fabric conditioner, your washing powder. So these perfumers don't just make perfumes, they make fragrances for all of the products that I've just mentioned, but they can also make perfumes for even, let's say, Jo Malone. They don't have their own in-house perfumer. And now Jo Malone, when she sold to Estee Lauder, she's now set up her own brand in London called Jo Loves. She doesn't create her own fragrances. She hires a perfume house to create them for her, and she collaborates with them. So that's a very surprising, fascinating fact about fragrance, isn't it? Let's talk about the Comtesse d'Aumont, who created a spicy mace scent to perfume her gloves, but she was held to be an alchemist and burned as a witch. Why did they do that? I always found that really, really fascinating. And then they didn't just burn them, they used to drown them, didn't they? When they thought that women were witches. And what they would do is they would dunk them into the water, and they said, well, if you survive, you're a witch, and we're going to kill you anyway. And if you die, then you're not a witch. Whoops, sorry. Bizarre. This is interesting about Empress Josephine. Now, long opera gloves. I love a long opera glove. I think they're beautiful. If you have nice upper arms, which I don't. But they may be the most erotically alluring garment ever invented. But the Empress Josephine actually wore them not to increase her allure, but because she thought her hands were ugly. And do you know who else thought her hands were ugly? Vivian Leigh. Can you imagine Vivian Leigh? Beautiful, beautiful woman. Gone with the Wind. And she thought her hands were ugly. Did you know that some scents are so powerful that the gloving room at Hampton Court Palace still smells of the perfumes used to scent the leather? Fragrances such as ambergris, musk and civet. Now, you might have heard me talking about the little town of Grasse where I studied at the Grasse Institute of Perfumery. I am going there this May for the Rose de Mai Festival. But the main industry in Grasse was actually glove making and leather tanning. But because leather smells pretty rank and corpsey, I think is, for want of a better word, that leather absolutely stinks. So when you buy a perfume that is leather, in quotes, it's not actually smells like leather, because nobody would ever buy a leather perfume if it smelled like real leather. So with these gloves in Grasse, what they did is they used to fragrance the leather to get rid of this corpsey smell. And what happened is that these perfume gloves actually caught on, and then Grasse supplied these gloves, and the business of scent overtook the business of leather, and they no longer tan leather in Grasse or make gloves. They now are known as the City of Perfume. They basically created a solution to their own problem, and then that was their thriving industry. This is one of my favourite fascinating facts that people are always astounded. Did you know that strippers make more money when they're ovulating? And this is not conjecture, this is actually a carefully controlled study in Mexico that revealed that strippers get more tips from their clients when they're ovulating. And in this study, the strippers were broken into two groups. One group was taking the contraceptive pill, and so their hormones were flatlining. And the second group were naturally ovulating. And they logged into a computer each time they performed and reported the stage of their monthly cycle and how many tips they made that night. And the results clearly showed a huge spike in tips with strippers who were ovulating compared to the strippers who were on contraceptive pills that had a steady tip rate throughout several months. So the conclusion to this is women appear to be more sexually attractive to men when they're ovulating. Now, is it just the scent of a woman? Is it the spike in pheromones? Will we ever know? It seems to be the same in the animal world, though. Females who are ripe for breeding attract more males to procreate. And I witnessed this because I live in the countryside in France and there's lots of stray cats, and you can see, litters of kittens everywhere. And yes, the males hunting down the females because they know that she's in heat. A fascinating fact about space. According to the astronaut Chris Hadfield, space smells like burnt steak or the remnants of a barbecue, and a little like gunpowder. Who knew? Will we ever go to space and find out? Did you know that many odours that you smell in the plant world is because of defence mechanisms? For instance, the smell of tobacco, cannabis or coffee. You're getting the aroma because the plant is being attacked, and it's the same for grass. So go outside. If you can go and find a blade of grass, pick it, don't break it, don't snap it, just pick it at the root or snap it at the bottom. Put it in your hands, smell it. Won't really smell of anything. Now snap that leaf in half. What do you smell? Give it a few seconds. It will release a green volatile odour, and a green leaf volatile odour it's actually called. And this is because it's being attacked and it's crying out for help. Help me, help me. So imagine the next time you are mowing the grass and you smell that newly cut grass smell. It's actually a billion blades of grass crying out for help. And that's what it is. The same with tobacco, cannabis or coffee. Now, have you ever heard about this when you pee? That smell that you get when when you're peeing, if you've eaten asparagus, it's like they call it asparagus pee, don't they? But did you know that 10% of the population can't smell it because they have a single mutation in their olfactory receptors that renders them unable to smell the asparagus, even though it is there? It's the same with musk. A certain percentage of the population can't actually smell musk either. But yeah, so if you can smell pee in your asparagus after you've eaten asparagus, obviously, then that means that you don't have this mutation in your olfactory receptors. But if you can't smell pee in your asparagus, then you're one of the 10% of the population. A fascinating fact about the blue lotus flower. It has been proven to be a good source of flavonoids, and flavonoids are the natural health-giving colouring agents found in many fruits and vegetables. So when we talk about blueberries, for instance, or blackberries being incredibly healthy, they say that it's because of these flavonoids that are giving it its colour. That's what gives them these powerful, strong antioxidants. But today, flavonoids are taken in concentrated form in herbal health preparations, such as ginkgo biloba, which I actually take. And this is a plant that's been used in Chinese medicine for thousands of years to ward off the effects of old age by boosting peripheral circulation, which improves mental illness and short-term memory. And I do notice a difference when I take my ginkgo. This particular batch I bought when I was in Bangkok, and I do notice that I have improved cognitive function when it comes to thinking, etc. So yeah, give it a go. Talking about the brain, Dr. Liz Williamson, an expert on the effect of chemicals on brain function, has listed these effects. She said, "We are using ginkgo for a lot of different conditions, but the main one is probably before age-related deterioration. Ginkgo is known as a kind of anti-aging herb." Gosh, who doesn't need one of those? It's a free radical scavenger and an antioxidant, and has particularly been shown to be useful in mild Alzheimer and memory dysfunctions and various conditions where blood flow is at fault, migraine, tinnitus, and so forth. But here's a really interesting fact about ginkgo. It even has a sort of Viagra effect. I actually got this excerpt from a book called The Private Lives of the Pharaohs by Joyce Tilsley. So if you're interested in the private life of the pharaohs, then go and search for that book. It's pretty fascinating. So ending on that note of Viagra, until next time, fascinating fragrant facts about violet and ambergris in my short and sweet, although this one wasn't so short, but the other one will be much shorter, I promise you. I'm going to be doing various lengths of episodes because I think I'm known for sending really, really long WhatsApp messages to my friends. It's how I love to communicate with them because I have friends all over the world, Norway, Dubai, Australia, South Africa, UK, etc. And even in France, I send voice notes. And I'm known for sending incredibly long messages, sometimes 20 minutes long. But then sometimes I might send them a message under 1 minute. And I think it's almost like they breathe a sigh of relief that when they can see how long this message, it's only 1 minute, they're like, oh, okay, she's not rambling on for like hours and hours. I can make myself a cup of coffee and listen to this really short, concise message. And that's how I want my podcast to be. Sometimes they will be short and sweet, some much shorter than others, some medium time like this one, and some a lot longer because I want to go really into depth about subjects. And I think for you, it would be, as a listener, a nice sigh of relief to listen and have the option to listen to shorter episodes from me. But I promise you, they will all be as fascinating as each other. Until next time, a bientôt and stay fabulous.